Investors welcomed Filinvest REIT Corporation's listing on the stock exchange today. It closed at 7 pesos and 2 centavos, slightly higher from its offering price. For more, we're joined now by Filinvest President and Chief Executive Officer, Josephine Gotianun-Yap. Mrs. Yap, thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word. You were indeed brave and bold to list on the stock exchange today despite ECQ. The market was down, but you bucked the trend. You finished in positive territory, up by 2 centavos.
Yes, we're very happy about that. Good evening, Rico.
You're happy indeed. With what you saw today, Mrs. Yap, are investors comfortable with investing in real estate investment trusts?
Yes, definitely. FILREIT belongs to a new asset class called the Real Estate Investment Trust. And in the REIT law, it requires that you put in assets that have at least a track record of 3 years of income, and you're supposed to dividend out at least 90% of the distributable income.
So what are the assets right now, Mrs. Yap, in FILREIT?
The assets that are in FILREIT is a separate company. It has 17 Grade A office buildings, 16 in Filinvest Alabang, and 1 in Cebu. And most of its tenants are prime multinational BPOs.
And of course, FILREIT is sponsored by Filinvest Land, which has been listed on the stock exchange for quite some time now. And for investors watching us right now, what do they choose, FILREIT or Filinvest Land? What type of investor should invest in either stock, Mrs. Yap?
Yes, Filinvest REIT is a separate company, and that's the company that owns the 17 buildings I talked about. It appears that the investing public is quite comfortable investing for the rental streams coming from the BPO sector, since they have shown resilience during the pandemic. So a REIT in general would be less volatile, and the dividend income would be more regular. FLI, on the other hand, is a property developer. It carries the land bank. It does the full range of residential projects, and it also does, we also do the malls like Festival Super Mall or industrial estates like the Filinvest Innovation Park in New Clark City. And we also do offices, and FLI still owns part of the REIT. So some investors who are more savvy and who like the volatility, and they can understand the differences of the different business models in the developer's portfolio, would be more comfortable with the developer stock.
There have been,
but some people prefer a more straightforward investment like in the REIT.
And Mrs. Yap, there have been 2 previous real estate investment trust listings as well before FILREIT. What is your edge over the Ayala REIT and the Double Dragon REIT?
Yes, we have 3 unique elements that distinguish us from the previous 2 REITs. First, we handpick very carefully the buildings to include those that have really a very high quality and diversity of tenancy. 88 or most of our tenants are multinational prime BPOs. And during the pandemic, this sector showed its resilience when 99% of our BPO tenants renewed their leases in 2020. Second, we also offered a very attractive yield of 6.3% in 2021 and 6.6% in 2022. And third, Filinvest REIT has a sustainability theme. FILREIT is found in Filinvest City, the first CBD with a LEED certification for neighborhood development. It is cooled. All the buildings are cooled by a district cooling system, the largest district cooling plant that reduces carbon emissions as well as energy consumption. And the city is serviced by an electric loop shuttle system, as well as many of the newer buildings are LEED certified.
What you just told me, Mrs. Yap, is very rosy, no, for FILREIT and for Filinvest Land. But what about this pandemic? Hasn't it had a major impact on the company's sales and operations?
Actually, just before this lockdown, we saw that the sales were going back to pre-pandemic levels, and that is because most of the sellers as well as the buyers have gotten used to dealing on a digital and a virtual basis.
Thank you so much.
I think the sectors that are more badly hit would be the retail sector as well as the hospitality sector.
We would like to thank you for joining us on The Final Word. Josephine Gotianun-Yap, President and CEO of Filinvest, and congratulations on the listing of FILREIT.